Welcome to Phillip Island, Victoria in Australia. What a setting we have for this great sporting contest, the Little Penguin Sea to Dune race. Nervous moments always as they gather on the beach, the tension mounting, and away they go. There's the defending champion, wearing his familiar navy blue and white, great waddling style. Another pre-race favourite though, losing touch with the pack. Maybe that's why. A few too many fish in the day's feeding. There's a familiar face, Skip McIntyre, 8 times a champion back in the 90s, a very successful coach now, keeping a keen eye on proceedings. This the leading group, 1 or 2 still able to put on a show for the camera, others just ploughing straight over it. Some resorting to shortcuts. Sad that cheating has crept into this beautiful sport. The judges will have a look at that. But up at the front, the pace is relentless, closing in on those sand dunes that will offer a bed for the night. The fatigue starting to tell. Who's got the finishing kick up on the outside? What a turn of pace from that one, whichever one it is. No answer from the rest, and he takes victory. What a win. There we are, into the Burrow, building an extension with his winnings, and back tomorrow to try and defend his title here on Phillip Island.
Hello everybody and welcome to another night of Live Penguin TV. My name is Jordan, I'm your host tonight, and tonight especially is a super exciting night of Live Penguin TV because this is our 1-year birthday, this is our 1-year anniversary for running these live streams. So 12 months ago, it was the first night that we aired Live Penguin TV, and we've been doing it on and off for a whole entire year. So happy birthday to the live stream, and especially a big thanks to anyone who has joined us right from day dot, right from the very, very beginning. So super excited to be here with you tonight. And it's going to be a lot of penguiny fun. If this is your first time tuning in, then we are going to be watching the smaller species of penguins, the little penguins, making their way home from the ocean across the beach and back to their burrows here on Phillip Island in Victoria, Australia. Now tonight I am also joined by the lovely ranger Tom. Tom, come in, say hello and let us know what you're going to be doing tonight.
Hi everyone, welcome to all our regulars and any newbies tonight. 840 odd penguins last night. We did take the number down, but we've both forgotten, but it was around the 840 mark.
You know what? I'm going to do a cheeky Tom and just check my phone because I did take a picture of it. And for anyone who was wondering how many penguins crossed the beach, we were both a little bit off.
Okay.
It was 884 penguins.
Well, the 4 was right.
The 4 was right.
884, so a little bit more than the night before, which is good. I'll be keeping an eye on the Facebook questions, so anything interesting we'll try and pass on. We can't get to everything, unfortunately. We do get a lot. And have a great night.
Great. Thank you, Tom. So yeah, at any point throughout the stream, if you have a penguin question that you would love answered, chuck it in the comments and we will do our best to answer a couple of questions live here on the air. So it's, again, a very exciting night. We normally get similar numbers of penguins crossing the beach night after night, but it's always a different number because these little penguins, which we are anxiously waiting for to come home, they could have been out in the ocean for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, maybe even over a month, because these are seabirds. When they're out in the ocean, that is their supermarket, that's their playground. As soon as they come on land, they're effectively on a diet because they only eat seafood. They're pescatarian, so they're only coming home if they've got things to do and places to be. And little penguins can actually sleep out in the water and keep themselves nice and warm. So yeah, we're very blessed when they do decide to come home. There has never been a night of 0 penguins crossing the beach. The least I think there's ever been was 8 cross the beach in 50 minutes, so 50 minutes of counting. So that's, again, exactly what we are waiting for tonight. We're waiting for the little penguins to feel like it's safe to cross that open sandy beach. We do have quite a low tide again tonight, which means our poor little penguins have that really long stretch of beach to cross before they make their way back to their burrows here on Phillip Island. Now, while we are waiting for these beautiful little seabirds, I just want to acknowledge the land on which we are bringing live Penguin TV to you from today. So, of course, we're here on Phillip Island, and that is the traditional lands of the Bunurong people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. They call it Milau in their local Bunurong language. And our records show that the Bunurong have been coming over to Milau for over 10,000 years, living very peacefully and sustainably with the plants, the animals, the penguins, the environment, and they've been coming over seasonally and only kind of taking what they need in a really sustainable manner. So we want to acknowledge the way in which the Bunurong have cared for this country and cared for country over so many thousands of years, keeping a really healthy, sustainable, regulated ecosystem. So we acknowledge Bunurong elders past, present and emerging. And in the comments, we would love to know if you know who the traditional custodians are that you're joining us, that you're watching us from today as well. Now, where are our feathery little friends, Tom? Where are they? They're probably thinking that it's probably still a little bit light and bright to make their way across the beach. Now, if this is your first time tuning in, you might be wondering why these little penguins are kind of waiting. They're waiting to cross the beach and why we are waiting for them this evening. So because these little penguins, they're the smallest of the 18 species of penguins in the world. They're only about 1 foot tall, so about the size of my head. And so because they're not very big, they're not great at defending themselves against big, scary predatory birds that might be flying around during the day. So swamp harriers, sea eagles, Pacific gulls, wedge-tailed eagles, peregrine falcons, any big raptor bird that is flying around during the day using the light to spot their prey is what the penguins are a little bit nervous about right now. Now, these little birds, these little penguins actually have navy blue feathers on their backs. So when they're fishing out in the ocean and they're floating on the surface of the water, they are going to be really well camouflaged. They're kind of invisible on the surface of the water to anything flying above. So during the day, they are pretty safe from aerial predators out there during the day, but it's when they decide to do their dangerous dash across the beach when they become a little bit more visible and a bit more vulnerable. So again, it's a little bit hard to tell now, but as soon as they hit that water's edge, where the waves kind of reach the sand, you'll see some little bellies, little white bellies sticking up, and that's how we'll be able to see them tonight. Sometimes we can see the penguins rafting up out in the ocean. So when a group of penguins out at sea is called a raft because they float on the surface of the water like a raft of penguins. But because it's a little bit choppy tonight, you can see, oh, hello, we've got some wallabies hopping along the beach. Looks like maybe a mum and a bubs. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep following them. They might be kind of behind the dune. Oh, no, but we do have a Cape Barren goose that's just kind of hiding behind our Penguins Plus stand. I'm already getting derailed from the wildlife. So this is a penguin neighbour that we have here on Phillip Island, a Cape Barren goose. So they are a very rare species of goose, but they do like to make guest appearances here on Live Penguin TV. There's quite a lot of them here on Phillip Island on Millau because we're fox free, and because they're so rare, you're not allowed to shoot them, eat them, hunt them, kill them, anything like that, which is great for the geese because there's lots of them. So we've got a really healthy population of these Cape Barren geese here, and it looks like it's just kind of having a little bit of a munch on some grass or on some vegetation. So these guys are herbivores. They are not a predator of the little penguin, although you may be lucky enough to see some penguin goose interactions tonight. And the penguins don't kind of discriminate between any birds. They're just scared of anything that's a little bit bigger than them. So keep an eye out for this bird on the live stream tonight. And yeah, we might be able to see what the penguins think of the geese. Now, I saw Tom just kind of gesture at me before. Do we have some penguins at the water's edge? Excellent. So just like I was saying, hopefully very shortly we'll be able to see some little white penguin bellies. Where are we? Sorry if anyone gets motion sick or seasick. Yep, there you are. I'm just going to have to zoom in on them now. It's only a small little group, or a waddle of penguins that we like to call them on land. So welcome home, little ones. Last night, I think the penguins crossed the beach at 6, I think it was it 6:24 or something, Tom? Something like that. So they're 4 minutes late tonight. Our penguin counters tonight are Ebony and Cat. So they will be waiting for the first group of 5 or more penguins to get to the halfway point on the beach. And from that point onwards, they count penguins crossing the beach on about 4 or 5 different pathways for 50 minutes. 50 minutes. And you can see these little ones at the moment, they're a little bit nervous. They're just kind of huddling really close together because there is safety in numbers. And where the first kind of group or the first waddle that crosses the beach, understandably, is really, really nervous because there is still a little bit of light outside here in Victoria, here at Phillip Island. So there's always the potential that there may be a predatory bird that may swoop down on them and, you know, get a nice tasty penguin to snack on for dinner. But the penguins are pretty clever. They've worked out that if they cross the beach after sunset, when the light levels get to kind of a certain point, get to a certain level, they're pretty sure that they can cross the beach without getting eaten or swooped down on. So that's what the penguins are kind of deliberating on here at the moment. They're kind of slowly, you can see, inching forward, but hopefully a little bit later in the stream we'll be able to see some larger groups, some larger waddles of penguins literally just gunning their way across the beach, because you'll see that they're a lot more confident to go across that stretch of beach when there is more of them. But these guys, they're slowly making their way forward, and I reckon they might hang out in amongst some of these basaltic rocks, these really dark rocks that you can see, which is solidified, cooled lava from many, many thousands of years ago. And we can see right now how visible the penguins are just here. But when they get amongst those rocks, they feel a little bit safer because they know they're a little bit more camouflaged. So yeah, will be interesting to see if this little waddle of penguins is going to commit and make their way all the way across the beach, or if they're going to wait for some more penguins that are rafting up currently out in the water and wait and join a slightly bigger group. Now, the way penguins are kind of organizing themselves out in the water, it's kind of like almost like a bit of a traffic jam, I would guess, out in the water. Because they want to have as many friends with them as possible when they cross the beach, they have to be able to call out to each other. So they go, I'm over here. Is it dark enough? Is it safe? Can we cross the beach yet? What do we think? So they make a sound called a huck, which sounds like huck, 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 huck. That's them saying, oh, is it dark enough? Yep, can we cross the beach yet? And am I correct in assuming we have a start, Tom?
Yeah, 6:21, she said. 6:31.
6:31, fantastic. So I wonder if that's these penguins that they've decided is the start of the count, or potentially there might be some other penguins maybe sneaking up the side or going up another pathway. So I'm just going to leave this little group for a moment. Can't see any just there. I don't think we're going to miss them crossing the beach just yet. Sorry, the tide is so low that the camera is struggling. Just for a bit of fun, I'm going to head over to the grandstands and see if we can see any penguins crossing the beach over there, and then I'll try to zip back to the penguins that are crossing the beach up a little bit closer. Now, can we see anything over here? Come on, camera. Let's have a look. There we go. That's a little bit better. Nope, doesn't look like it. But tonight, everybody, our penguin counters are hanging out in that little white building over there with a pair of binoculars, and they're going 5, 10, 15, 200 penguins, depending on how many penguins are in each group. Now, I'm going to zoom back out and race over to these penguins that we were looking at just before, because I reckon, oh, yep, they're still hanging out right there. I think those are the penguins that have started off our count tonight. And yeah, it looks like they're over that halfway point on the beach. So theoretically, they shouldn't run back. But if there is something scary in front of them, then they may decide to. Although it does look like they're picking up the pace a little bit. How many penguins do we think are in this little group? Maybe about 10? Give us your guesses in the comments, everybody. But it's only a fairly small group to start us off. Oh, one thing I also did want to just mention briefly as well, while we were having our countdown on, they are gutting for it at the moment. They are well and truly committed to crossing the beach. And I think we might have a number of the amount of penguins in that group.
Thank you. There's 12.
12 penguins. 10. I was pretty close. So good work, Ebony and Kat, who are counting the penguins tonight. So what I was trying to say is that while we were having our countdown on, before we went live, everyone, was that we did notice there were a couple of spammers, a couple of scammers in the comments. So please don't click on any links that are asking you to pay money to watch live Penguin TV. It is free. We want to bring the penguins to you during the time where you can't come and visit us here at the Penguin Parade. So please only click on official Phillip Island Nature Park links. And yeah, please do not enter any credit card details or phone numbers, because we, as an organisation, are not trying to get money from you. So though that is a way to know that it's a scammer and that it's not a real link. So we are working pretty hard to make sure that we're blocking them, but sometimes they do manage to get through all the algorithms. So please do take it easy. We don't want you guys to get upset with these spammers or get ripped off or anything like that. So thank you for bearing with us. And yeah, again, don't click on any links. So it looks like our feathery little friends have made it safely across the beach here on Phillip Island. And normally once they do their dangerous dash and the penguins kind of make it up to this point, they know they're safe. On the dark rocks, again, they know, oh, did you see that one flip off the rocks? Look, I sometimes feel a little bit bad about laughing like that little dude on the right, but they are such incredibly tough, resilient little creatures. But with anything, of course, we love their cute little waddle that they do. So don't feel too sorry for them. They are quite used to having to scale over rocks and every now and then taking a little bit of a rough and tumble. But I wonder if these little guys are going to stop and have a bit of a rest on these rocks, or if they're going to power on through, making their way back to their burrows. So welcome home, everybody, after a day or a couple of days fishing out in the ocean. Now, usually the longer they've been out in the ocean for, that means the more fish they've been eating. So those penguins might be looking slightly chunkier. Whereas if the penguin has only been out, like for example, it's gone out this morning and has returned home tonight, they might not be quite as chunky because they don't have as much flesh on their bones. They don't have quite as full a tummy. And it looks like collectively these penguins have decided that they are just going to keep on going. They are not taking much of a rest at all. I know if I was a penguin and I'd done that dangerous dash with those teeny tiny little legs, I would want to be having a big rest on those resting rocks, catching my breath and waiting for my heart rate to drop again, because crossing that beach at the end of the day is the scariest time of day for these little penguins. So we might keep an eye on these guys that I reckon are gonna probably start heading up the hill, and then after that I'm gonna try and head back over to the beach and see if there's any more penguins rafting up. I think I finished my little spiel on the penguin huck, that huck, 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 huck sound that they make out in the ocean. And again, if this is your first time watching live Penguin TV and you're paying attention to the comments, you'll probably notice that there's a fair few people commenting away, huck, huck. Is that right, Tom? There was probably lots of them.
Just a few. Just
a few to start off with. So they're just trying to speak Penguin. We're trying to encourage people to speak fluent Penguin here on the live stream. So again, if you're a little bit confused, that is exactly what is happening and why. So, oh, did I just see a penguin poo, or did I imagine that? Maybe it was just a little bit of a branch moving. If you are lucky enough to see a penguin pooing here on the live stream, lucky you have just witnessed a Guinness World Record, because these little penguins poo at one of the highest velocities of any animal in the world. So they are absolute projectile pooers. And they do that whether they're out in the ocean, on the walk home, or in their burrows. Usually when adults are in their burrows, they kind of face up. This is a perfect example. We've got a little man-made artificial burrow that says 2/20. It's a little mortgage-free penguin home. Oh, looks like we've got some penguins up above me on the highway. But penguins are really good at aiming their bottoms out the entranceways of their either artificial burrows or their natural burrows, so that their poo doesn't kind of muck up the inside of their burrows. But when there's chicks around, they are just absolute pooping machines, and no area of the penguin parade is safe from their poo. Oh, I can see one that's just kind of hanging out in the vegetation over there. But I might cast our eyes back to the rocks. Nothing on the rocks. Maybe back to the beach and see if we can spot anyone else hanging out there. Oh, yep, and there we have some more little penguins on the water's edge. Oh, and even a few more that are kind of almost at that halfway point. Now I just have to decide if I want to go to, it looks like maybe 4 or 5 on the left, or that bigger group. Maybe we'll go a little bit to both. Let's have a look at this slightly smaller group first, and we'll see if we can count how many are in this group. Oh yeah, I reckon about 5. Come on, camera, let's focus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 5 penguins. Now, whether they are going to cross the beach by themselves or kind of join that bigger waddle that is to their left, or they'll cross by themselves, we'll just have to wait and see. But they're definitely looking around. They're looking back in the direction. Oh, and can I see another little penguin? Yep, at the water's edge, that might be wanting to kind of say, guys, wait for me. Don't cross yet. But yeah, they're kind of looking a little bit nervous and looking over to that slightly bigger group. So I might cut. Oh, and there's even another one that's washed up slightly more. Oh, here we go. It's a nice big group. And hopefully, I think Ebony is our main penguin counter. Oh, it looks like this big group is going to join the little one. Oh, that's so cute. Well done on reuniting everybody. That's awesome. Now, while we are watching these penguins, in a minute I'll ask, oh, there's even another big group that's washed up, another raft that's washed up. Oh, that's a lot of penguins. Send your love to Kat and Ebony, who are counting. Oh, these penguins. That's a nice, solid group of penguins. A nice waddle over there. So yeah, at any point, remember throughout the stream, please do chuck your questions in the comments thread of the video that you're watching. Again, we do have so many questions, just like we have so many penguins here on the screen right now. So if we don't get to them, please don't be upset or offended. Again, if we answered every single question, Tom, I think we would be going well and truly until the lights were out, which I know a lot of you would probably be very keen on. But yeah, we'll just be literally here forever. In fact, last night, my parents were watching me do the live stream, and I made a joke about how I've been talking for 32 minutes. And my dad said, 32 minutes, you could talk for 32 hours, Jordan, and not run out of things to say. And he is absolutely right. Thank you, Dad. So on that note, Tom, how about we go to a question? Because I have been talking for a fair while already.
Okay, so this one's from Daisy. So we've all the talk about poo. It's a good little segue.
Ah, fantastic.
Her question was, does the penguin poo have fish bones in it? Ooh. So Daisy, we've got scientists and researchers on staff. And for a long time, the way we used to be able to tell what they ate was by pumping their stomach, which is very intrusive, very uncomfortable for the penguins. So in recent years, we've started analysing their scat, and scat's a nice way of saying animal poo. And what we actually look for is a bone called otoliths, which are actually inner ear bones. Fish have got inner ear bones like we do, and every fish has got different shaped bones, and we can tell by the different shapes of the otoliths exactly what sort of fish they're eating. And squid and octopus and cuttlefish have beaks, so we can tell that as well. So a very good question, and it actually helps with us with telling what they eat as well.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Tom. And that's a cool new word that some of you might have just learnt tonight, otolith, so the inner ear bone of a fish. And again, depending on the size and the shape of the ear bone, like Tom said, you can tell what species of fish that they've been eating, and as well as the age of the fish as well, depending on the size as well, which is pretty cool. Oh, this is Penguin Peak hour traffic over here. Look at them just absolutely piling in. And I think that was just kind of the first part of that big group, and it looks like, look at them, they are just streaming on in. They are on their way, and I think we may have a number for how many penguins were in that waddle, Tom?
150 in the first group and 280 in the next.
150 and then 280.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a lot of penguins. If you were watching a few nights ago, everybody, I think the total number of penguins over 50 minutes was 395 or something. So already we have seen more penguins than in that entire 50 minutes of that penguin count. So lucky, we are getting penguins galore tonight. It makes our job a lot easier as well to entertain people with the penguins, and I reckon fairly shortly we're going to have some penguins making their way along the Penguin Highway, so I'll try to flick over nice and quickly, but oh my goodness, just look at them, and you can see that when there are lots and lots of penguins, they just don't really have a chance to stop on the highway, on those little resting rocks, because the penguins behind them are just like, come on guys, let us just keep on going. So might just, oh yep, here they come. All right, flicking to the highway now. And my goodness, look at them all trucking along. You can see in this kind of angle, in this view, everyone has their own kind of little waddling experience. You're going super close to the glass over there. This is actually a viewing area where you can come and watch our penguins when we are open to the public. So you can get right up close and personal with these penguins right at eye level. And sometimes we get to see the penguins looking at themselves and checking themselves out in the glass, which is always very, very funny as well. Now, one of the things that I also want to mention as well is that here at Phillip Island Nature Parks, we are a non-for-profit conservation organisation, which means the profits from tours, tickets, souvenirs and things like that goes directly back into the conservation, education and research work that we do. So essentially, by coming and visiting us here, when it's safe to do so, you are helping us protect our penguins and help us with ongoing conservation projects to help keep them nice and safe on their island home. So we are we hope that we can have you back really soon when it is safe to do so, but of course at the moment, look at that guy, he's so waddly. It isn't safe to do so. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching us on Live Penguin TV. It's wonderful that we can bring the penguins to the people. So of course, you know, people have their penguin addictions or their live stream addictions, which is great. So you're very grateful that we can provide some penguin nightly fun to you guys during these tough times. But if you would like to help us with our conservation, education and research work, you can donate to the Penguin Foundation, which is a charity associated with the Penguin Parade and Live Penguin TV. So you can adopt a penguin, you can adopt an Eastern Bar Bandicoot, a seal, all kinds of things, or just make a donation. So please, again, if you would like to help support us, make sure you don't enter any credit card details on any links that may pop up in the live stream tonight. Again, we are not asking you to pay for Live Penguin TV, but if you go onto the Penguin Foundation website, that is a way that you can know your money is doing some great things to help. Now, as we can see over here, this is kind of a non-stop waddle route for these little penguins. Again, we call this the Penguin Highway because it is one of the most popular pathways for them to head back home. And just like us, penguins have their own address, so they're always heading back to their burrow, at the same burrow every single night. Sometimes, again, like humans, they may decide to change up their burrows. They might switch from a natural burrow, which they dig themselves, to one of those artificial burrows that you might have noticed that I was talking about a little bit earlier. Sometimes they'll switch between those artificial burrows as well, or a mixture of both. Just if they're not too keen on a certain burrow, it might have too much light exposure. There might have been too much noise, or they might have had, some ravens or some predatory birds try to attack the nest. So they go, nah, that is no good for me. So they're going to decide to move on a little bit. But another occasion that they might decide to visit someone else's burrow is if their breeding partner isn't home and it's during the breeding season and the penguins are feeling the love. They're not strictly monogamous, so they're not always going to return to the same breeding partner every single night. They spread the love around, is what I'm going to say on that topic tonight. Now, talking about penguin breeding as well, I was asked a very good question by a lovely young girl last night. I think it might have been, was it Emma is ringing a bell, Tom. She wanted to know how heavy a little penguin egg weighs, and unfortunately I gave the wrong answer, so I'm very sorry.
Was Emma.
It was Emma. Oh, there we go. Got a good memory. She good. Yeah, Tom's got his notes from last night. How perfect. She wanted to know how much a penguin egg weighed. Now, it is actually 55 grams, not 35. And I remember I had 35 and 55 in my brain, but I couldn't quite remember exactly which one it was. And the reason I got a little bit confused is because when the chick is freshly hatched, once it's out of the egg, that is the little critter that weighs 35 grams. But with the eggshell and all the goo and the rest of the stuff inside the egg, a penguin egg is roughly about 55 grams. But again, the chick, when they first hatch, they're about 35 grams. So sorry for giving you the wrong answer last night, Emma, and everybody. I rectified that, but I hope you all forgive me. And one other question that we were asked a couple of nights ago was if penguins get arthritis. Really, really good question. I can't remember who asked that question. Very, very sorry, guys. But pretty much, yes, they can. Just like any kind of older animal, they can absolutely get arthritis and diseases or illnesses that are associated with old age. But because in the wild, unfortunately, a lot of animals don't live to kind of their very limits of what they can live. In captivity, of course, they have access to plenty of food, veterinary care. If they're sick or injured, they can be looked after straight away. But in the wild, we do have a little wildlife clinic here on Phillip Island at the Penguin Parade, which is funded by the Penguin Foundation. We've got a little bit of courting going on. Sorry, just over here. Maybe some special penguin cuddles. Ooh. We're showing off. The chest is out, the flippers are back, and they're probably calling out. Oh, they're kind of maybe lovers spat. I'm not entirely sure. Yes, so I believe more regularly in captivity you'll find penguins with arthritis. Not so much in the wild because only the fittest and the strongest survive. That said, they may potentially have arthritis, but you'd have to do some tests and really hold and handle the penguins quite closely to see if there's that inflammation and that limit of movement and things like that as well. So yes, they do, but because they don't live quite as long in the wild, it's not quite as frequent. Now, I think Tom has just given me the 5-minute mark. Again, I've been talking for 30 minutes, so I will be wrapping up semi-shortly, but I have only answered one question from tonight's live stream, Tom. So I think I definitely need to answer at least 2 and maybe have a few chats in between about whatever comes to my mind. So Tom, let's have another question, and can you answer it for me?
Okay, so this is from Sophie. What is their worst predator? There's very short answer and long answers to that one, but traditionally birds of prey. So eagles and hawks, and that's why they have the dark blue covering on their back for camouflage in the water, and their white feathers on their belly. They only cross the beach when it's dark, morning or evening, before sunrise or after sunset, and they live in burrows in the ground. Big sharks are too big to worry about little penguins. Small sharks are too small. We've got about 30,000 seals down the road, which is one of the biggest seal colonies in Australia.
Woohoo!
luckily for us and the penguins, Australian fur seals don't eat penguins, certainly not in any great numbers. But there are seals in New Zealand and South Australia and other places, different species, that do eat penguins. So unfortunately, the two biggest threats to the little penguins is the environment itself. You've heard over the last 12 months how hard they have to work and feed. So if they're sick or injured or they've got bad life skills or feeding skills, it's a very harsh environment. And humans directly and indirectly. So loss of habitat, pollution, boats, and introduced species like dogs and cats and foxes. So that pretty much sums it up.
Great work. Thank you, Tom. Now, of course, so Tom mentioned a few different things that are human threats to our little penguins, which means if there are human-induced threats, that means that there's obviously human solutions as well. So I'm going to put you on the spot in a second, Tom, and ask what you're doing to help protect the penguins. But one of the things that I am trying to do more and more in my life is reduce the amount of plastic that I'm using at home. So trying to actively buy food that has less or no plastic in the packaging of our produce, and making sure I have reusable containers, a reusable keep cup, saying no to plastic straws and things like that, because the more plastic that's out there in the bins, if the wind hits the bin and it flips out, of course you might be doing the right thing by putting your rubbish in the bin, but if we're reducing how much plastic is out there in the first place, it's going to be less likely to make its way out into the environment, out into the ocean, and affecting our little penguins. So what's probably one of your top tips, Tom, to make sure these penguins get home safely?
Same as your plastics, so and making sure your rubbish goes well and truly in the bin, and the bin goes where it should go to.
Yeah.
Especially recycling.
Yeah, for sure. Again, reduce, reuse, recycle, and we'd love for you to let us know in the comments some of the different ways that you're helping to protect these little penguins, whether you live here on Phillip Island in Australia or all over the world as well. So yeah, that's great. So again, lots and lots of different things to do. I'm not going to overload you with every single little thing that you can do and that I do to help protect these penguins. We try to kind of sprinkle in a few ideas throughout the live streams, but we would love for all of you to have a little bit of a think about the things that you can do and the changes that you can make in your life to help protect these little birds wherever you may be. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, and I just realized that Tom gave me the 5-minute warning 5 minutes ago, and I still have a few more things to say. So sorry, Tom, we're going to be getting out a little bit later tonight. Of course, we are here on Live Penguin TV. This is our 1-year anniversary of the live stream. So in the comments, please let us know some of the highlights. If you've been only tuning in recently, tell us, your best fun favorite fact, or the funniest, or the most amazing, or the most interesting thing that you've seen. Same goes if you've been watching this live stream from the very beginning. Tell us some of the memorable moments, and I'll give you a few minutes to pop your comments in, and then I might ask Tom to read a couple out. I'm sure sorry Tom, I've given you a really big task. There's going to be too many, but I might see if you can pick out some ones that kind of catch your eye, if you don't mind. So I've just heard him sigh because I know how much you guys love penguins, and I'm sure the comments are just going to be coming in thick and fast. So sorry, Tom, I know I've given you a very hard task tonight. Now, while we are giving Tom a little bit of time to look through the comments, I'm going to hang out to the beach. Oh, and would you look at that? We have another little raft. Oh, we've got a two-parter waddle by the looks of it starting to make their way in. I'm not sure how well our camera is going to focus on those penguins right at the back, just because it is getting a bit darker and we do have that low tide. But I'll do my best to follow this kind of slightly smaller group in here. Now, I was going to say, some memorable moments for me over the live stream, I think one of them that comes to mind, probably just because Tom and I were just talking about reducing plastic and reducing the amount of debris out in the ocean, was one time where I was actually manning the Penguins Plus stand, which is where this camera is right now. And Megan, I believe, was running the live stream with Ranger Michael, and she spotted a penguin coming with an entanglement around its neck. And luckily she radioed through, I think it might have been Michael who radioed through to me on the Penguins Plus stand that there was a penguin that came in with something around its neck. And I got a little kind of, we call them, it's a little blue box or a penguin ambulance. And I was able to catch this little penguin and get remove the entanglement from around its neck. It was quite tight. It looked like some kind of plastic silicone ring type thing, that it's obviously probably thought it looked a bit like a jellyfish, because penguins also eat jellyfish as well, and that's one of the dangers, that penguins all mistake certain bits of marine plastic out in the ocean for food, and they can also become entangled with it as well. So that was a really happy story, and the penguin fortunately wasn't affected by the entanglement. It mustn't have been on there for very long. It was still able to breathe and feed. It just kind of looked like it was wearing a necklace, which as cute as that might look, it's really, really worrying. So another thing that I would love to implore every one of you to do, if you are throwing anything out into the bin that can form a loop, that can form a circle, that maybe potentially could have a seal or a penguin head or a dolphin or a whale poke through it, please cut the loop, because that's another really, really great way that you can help us to protect our little penguins here on Phillip Island, and marine wildlife Australia-wide and worldwide as well. I always feel a little bit embarrassed saying this, but you water watchers, the people who are watching the live stream, wanted to call this little penguin that I rescued Geordie. So I'm very, very honoured, but also a little bit embarrassed that you've named a penguin over me. And Geordie was a very, very feisty little penguin and gave me a nice little bite on the hand when I was trying to help, because as much as these penguins do look cute and cuddly, they are wild animals. We only interfere, we only touch them if their safety is at risk, if we don't think that they're going to survive or they have an injury that we can help fix them up with. Now, while I was talking about that, Tom, do we have many fun moments from our water watchers watching tonight that they've enjoyed over the last 12 months?
Heaps. So this one's from Jean. I always laugh at the time Sky said she was glad she didn't have to count because it looks difficult. And then she was put on counting duty.
Oh, that's right. Yep, for our podcast. So if you want to learn more about what we do here at Phillip Island Nature Parks, we do have a podcast called Nature Unfiltered. You can listen to it wherever you put your podcast from, or you can even listen to it from the Nature Parks website as well. So thank you for that. Anything else, Tom?
And when Alexander says, when Jordan said we can adopt a ranger.
Oh. So, the fun thing about doing things live is that you never quite know what's going to slip out. And of course, you might remember me mentioning the Penguin Foundation, where you can adopt a penguin. Apparently one time I accidentally said you can adopt a ranger, and then everyone in the comments were like, I want to adopt this ranger or this ranger. I wonder if she talks this much at home. So, yeah, that's again, that's something that's probably going to go down in live penguin TV history. Do we have any more questions, Tom?
There's heaps, but we're running out of time. But I've got one. My most memorable night of the last 12 months was the night that Stephen decided to dedicate the whole show to dad jokes.
Oh, yes, so good.
That was a long night. Apologies, Stephen, but that was a long, long night. And memorable.
Memorable, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I remember watching that live stream from home, and I am an absolute sucker for dad jokes. Anything that's really bad, low quality, it just gets me every single time. So I'm glad you enjoyed that, and good job for sitting through it and not groaning too hard as Stephen was trying to keep us entertained with those dad jokes as well. So if you haven't met Stephen yet, he's one of the other live stream hosts which run Live Penguin TV. So we are running this live stream for the next couple of nights and next couple of weeks, depending on how long restrictions are for. So if you're lucky and if there is enough public demand, then you might be lucky enough to hear a few more bad penguin related jokes and puns from Ranger Stephen. He is an absolute blast, and he is a dad himself, so he definitely knows how to ruin those dad jokes, or ruin us with those dad jokes. Alrighty, I think it is probably fairly soon for us to start making our way off before they turn the lights off on us this evening. But again, I just want to say a big thank you for everybody tuning in tonight, and if you've been watching Live Penguin TV since the first beginning. Oh, that penguin just pooed and I just missed it. Damn it, my face was hiding. I don't know if you can see, there's a little kind of white splotch just there. So yeah, thank you so much for everybody who has tuned in any time over the last 12 months. We really love all of your comments, all of your enthusiasm, while it's been, some tough times here in Australia and worldwide as well. So really glad that you could be here with us. And Live Penguin TV isn't going anywhere. We absolutely love doing it. So you keep tuning in. I have the night off tomorrow, and I'm not telling you who is on, so that there can be a little bit of suspense for you to kind of guess who you think might be hosting the live stream tomorrow night. But again, yep, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, have a bit of a think about all the different ways. Oh, they're running all the way up the highway. Have a bit of a think about all the different ways that you can help us to protect these little penguins wherever you may be. And oh, it's a rabbit. Damn, I thought it might be a bandicoot. We don't like, even though bunny rabbits are cute, we don't like them. And I'm gonna switch back to our beach. Oh no, I'm not. There's penguins back on the highway. I lie. I'm gonna have a look at these guys. Oh, they're kind of eyeing off the rabbit here, aren't they? I'm getting distracted. Okay, yeah, think about all the different ways that you can help protect penguins. Remember, you can adopt a penguin through the Penguin Foundation, but keep tuning in night after night. We absolutely love doing these live streams and having you watch with us. And then again, a huge thank you for everyone who's tuned in over the last 12 months. We are super excited to be at our first birthday, and we hope that Live Penguin TV continues to grow from here on in. Anything else that I need to...
No.
Oh, I've been talking for a fair while tonight. All right, Tom, come in. Let's say goodbye, and I'm going to say goodbye in our signature penguin language, which is to say huck huck in the language of the penguin. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Huck, 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 huck.
40 minutes.